I also want to thank Alan Weissberger for putting this program together today. He's the one who worked for hours with Dave and Ted to make this happen, because we could go on for hours. But we're going to do like 90 minutes, and it's going to be very interesting. So I'm very, very thankful for all the effort that they put into this tonight. And I'll put on the presentation, and you can begin your thing.
Thank you, Brian. It is certainly an honor, pleasure, and a privilege to be here this evening with our two semiconductor icons. I can tell you in all honesty that in 40 years of organizing, moderating, and chairing IEEE events, I've never looked forward to one with such anticipation and excitement as this evening's program. Why, might you ask? The reason is that we are going to hear the true behind-the-scenes story of how Intel achieved major milestones, overcame obstacles, and transitions from a semiconductor memory company to a microprocessor company, with an important but largely unrecognized detour into telecom. In my humble opinion, most books on Intel's history are either inaccurate or complete. They are written by non-technical people who do interviews and often get it wrong. Here's a book on Inside Intel we're going to come back to. I think it should be called Outside Intel. Because the author never worked at the company, and the interviews he got were either wrong or distorted. Dave will set the record straight about that later in the program when we talk about Intel branding and advertising campaigns. Now, Intel is arguably the world's most successful semiconductor company of all time. Probably most of you don't realize that, but they are. They've been #1 in global semiconductor sales and market share every year since 1992. Our two panelists this evening played a huge role in Intel's success. They were instrumental in identifying and fixing serious problems with Intel's flagship 1K DRAM product, which was going to make or break the company in the early 1970s. They went on to make substantial individual contributions to Intel's success in microprocessors. One of them also paved the way for digital signal processors, DSPs, to be used instead of analog circuitry, and designed LSI codec filters that facilitated digital switching in various types of telecom equipment. More about that later. Our other panelist created Intel's marketing machine in the mid-1970s. He later became the general manager of the company's microprocessor division from 1978 to 1991. After that, an Intel senior vice president that led the team which launched Intel's server products division, still hugely profitable with an industry-leading 85% market share. Our first panelist, Ted Hoff, is an IEEE senior fellow. He was nicknamed Mad Scientist as a youth and still has that moniker on his lab coat. As a teenager, working in a summer job for General Railway Signal Corps, he was granted 2 patents on electronic circuits for tracking and positioning trains on railroad tracks. He was invited to join Intel by none other than Bob Noyce, and became Intel employee number 7, their first systems engineer. While this individual has received lots of recognition for co-inventing the first commercially available microprocessor, his accomplishments in semiconductor memories and telecom, in my opinion, were just as important, if not more so, to Intel's success. Our inventor extraordinaire is still working on Skunk Works electronics projects in his huge home lab. He recently fixed my 60-year-old vacuum tube radio. Thank you, Tim. Our second panelist, contrary to what you might have read in the trade press or books, did not come up through his career in the marketing ranks. He is in fact a hardcore electronics system design engineer who worked on aerospace, air traffic, and computer system design projects at Raytheon, Honeywell, and Microdata before joining Intel in February 1974 as Semiconductor Memory Applications Engineering Manager. Through some unknown process, Maybe will be revealed tonight, maybe not. He became a marketing genius and microprocessor division manager. He was the general manager of Intel's microprocessor division, ran that organization for over a decade. I believe it was 13 years. We need to find out, hopefully tonight, whether Andy Grove taught him about marketing or he convinced Andy that marketing was important and then led the way forward to power Intel's marketing machine. Now, there's another interesting mystery about this individual who was a classmate of mine in 1968, which maybe we'll get to at the end of the program. We could easily spend a half day or more telling these Intel stories. That was evidence from our planning meeting at Dave's house last Tuesday. I think we could have gone on for 8 hours. So our game plan tonight is to compress 8 hours worth of stories into an hour and a half. And we'll do that as follows. I'll introduce each topic, and our panelists will discuss them in a conversation-type format, a conversation between Ted and Dave, with the moderator just being the timekeeper and moving on to the next subject when the time is up. Please hold your questions to the end of the panel discussion. Hopefully we'll have 15 minutes or so for Q&A.